Victims, as a victim back then, weren't really part of the equation. They didn't know, what they were supposed to do with us victims.
My name is Floyd Wiebe, and on January the 5th, 2003, my 20-year-old son, TJ Wiebe, was murdered by 4 young men.
My name is Ron Davis. I'm from Moncton, New Brunswick. I became a victim in 1987 when my daughter was murdered in a convenience store holdup.
My name is Carolyn Solomon. 16 years ago, my son was murdered by a parolee. After that happened, of course, you're tossed into a system that you know nothing about. It's like a big hole. I don't even know if they knew the meaning of the victim. They weren't in that frame of mind to deal with victims. It was offender. It was all offender focused, and to some degree it still is.
When the court case finished, we received no information from anybody. You were left on your own.
I did need those answers. I needed to know why those people were not watching him. I needed to know how he was allowed to do that. You need to tell me that, because that's my son that you took.
That person has affected our lives like no one else in our life. How can we not want to know what that person is doing in jail? And you know what? We'll sit back for 10 years not having a clue.
Going to parole board is probably part of a healing process, and you feel that you need to know and want to know what's going on. It can get pretty frustrating. I mean, when you make out a victim impact statement, you have to send it in 30 days in advance. The offender gets a copy of it. You do not get a copy of his, so we don't know what he's going to say until the day you're there. And they can use your victim impact statement to build their package around, and if it's fabricated, you don't have no right to speak or ask. The next time you could speak on that would be 2 years from now at the next parole hearing. The public in most cases have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, if you haven't been a victim, then you don't understand it. We need to get out to the public information about the process, where you can get some help.
There's a whole lot that can be done to make it easier for the victims, and information is a big thing. Of all of the the victims that I even talk to, it's just like, I can't have that information. I can't have that information, and all that does, it creates anger. And people say that victims are just looking for revenge. Victims are just they're angry. Yes, they are. Yes, they are angry. And sometimes, in the very beginning of this, when I spent that week on Parliament Hill, I told them, I said, you know what, right now I am angry. I am more angry at the system than I am at the guy that murdered my son. And that was a sad statement. And I was at the time.
Recently, the government has allowed us to know extremely limited information. It's still not nearly enough.
You get no information at all unless you register. So you can know that if he's being transferred, actually ahead of time now, if it's minimum.
I'm going to say it was 6 or 7 years ago. We were away on a holiday. We were traveling through to Ottawa, actually, and we went up to Mount Tremblant and the Laurentians and spent 2 days up there, only to get back home and find a letter in my mailbox stating that he's out for 6 weeks in the same area on a work thing. What would it have been if I'd have run into him on the street? How do you react?
Seriously speaking, there's nothing in there that helps me understand what's going on. I want to know, are they becoming rehabilitated? I want to know, when they get out, are they going to kill again? I need to know that. I need to know what they're doing, because they have affected my life and they will continue to affect my life until the day I die.
It's a journey for the victim, and it's a journey for the offender, because at the end of that journey, he is going to be on the street again. And at the end of my journey, I'm still a victim, because my son's never coming back. But my hope, I guess, is to one day for victims to have basically the same rights as the offender.
It's been a growing process, tough process. You get very frustrated, but I won't say you can see the light at the tunnel. The best way to word it, I can see a glow at the end of the tunnel right now, that changes are happening and they're going to happen. I mean, you can't do anything for myself, that's past, but if I can make it easier for another victim, we'll have accomplished something.
And if I can save one family, then that does my heart good.